It's the quiet ones you gotta watch. Another entry in the action movie commissions that I've got for the front half of this year. Nobody! This was one I was kind of curious about. I've now seen it. This stars the unlikely action hero Bob Odenkirk, best known as playing Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So, this has him basically. It's it's kind of John Wick adjacent. Like the director worked on John Wick stuff. So the core idea is this is a normal guy, wife, two kids, works for his father-in-law, not thought of particularly highly by many people. It seems like his marriage is it's not necessarily gone bad, but it's gone boring, and like everything is pretty evident of that. His teenage son has no respect for him. His daughter likes him, but his neighbor's a jackass who doesn't respect him. His in-laws don't respect him, and when there is a break-in in his house, and he then doesn't do anything about it, he is looked down on even further. And then when he, you know. Takes a moment to try and vent some of his frustrations, he inadvertently stumbles into a much bigger problem and suddenly has the Russian mafia after him. Fortunately, he's basically a former super assassin. You just wouldn't think it to look at him. First of all, I like that Bob Odenkirk, like he clearly got into shape for this. He does a decent amount of his own stunts, especially in the fight scenes. But they didn't make him buff. He is not unreasonably fit, especially for his age. And I like that. And just, oh boy, you know what? I can go back to the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, and I can look at movie stars, even action stars, and a lot more of them just look like normal people. That used to be a thing. I miss that. So it's kind of nice seeing that here. The plot's very thin. So you do have to kind of take it as a given and just accept going in. It is going to do the his identity as a man and his masculinity are kind of tied to violence. It thankfully doesn't go super overboard with that. It's not like it goes out of his way to make him seem emasculated, but it is very clear that other people around him, from a cop who talks to him after the break-in, to his neighbor, to his in-laws, all look down on him and think of him as less of a man because he did not enact violence. So the movie doesn't necessarily co-sign that, but it doesn't, like, just given the nature of its structure and the fact that, yeah, he's going to get very violent with people, it's not exactly deconstructing that either. Here's what I will say. This is like a small touch that I think helps in terms of all this. There's a few brief moments where we hear Hutch, that's Bob Odenkirk's characters, we hear Hutch's thoughts. And like when these Russian guys like look like they're going to start causing trouble, we hear his thoughts saying, yeah, basically saying, yeah, let them get on the bus. Like he wants a reason to start a fight. Again, it's not really an examination of that and whether like this man's innate violence is something that can ever be truly quelled. It could, but it's a 90-minute action movie, so it's not going to. So that's more a little sprinkling of flavor rather than a main point because, it is a pretty standard thing at this point. It is very difficult to both simultaneously depict and deconstruct, toxic masculinity and masculine fantasy and violent fantasy. It's kind of hard to deconstruct it without just depicting it and becoming another example of it. So this isn't really trying to deconstruct it, but it has just a little bit more thought put into it and a little bit more going on behind it, behind the sort of veneer of its action pitch than a lot of other stuff that is this sort of lean and mean does. I don't want to oversell that. There aren't like hidden depths. There's just like little hints that it's not quite as straightforward as another film might have taken it. And if you know what you're getting coming in, it's a little sprinkling of just more than you expected. Surprisingly solid cast in this. A lot of faces that I didn't expect to see, like Colin Salmon shows up in this, Michael Ironside, RZA, freaking Christopher Lloyd's in this. Um, it's neat. And actually, here's another thing that I'll mention. While it is true that by the tail end, Hutch is definitely surviving stuff that like that should have killed you. His first fight scene, they do a really good job of making the point like he's not invincible. He's not Superman. He's not John Wick. Like he's gonna take hits and it's gonna hurt. It reminded me a little bit more of like the hand-to-hand fights that John McClane got in the very first Die Hard, where like, yeah, he wins the fight, but then he walks away limping and it's like, dude, you okay? It does escalate with time, and by the climactic scene, it's like, okay, you should have been dead 3 times over by this point. Like just the endurance alone that he didn't just collapse from exhaustion does stretch credulity, but I do think it helps that they didn't start there. They built up to that. Another thing is actually kind of worth mentioning about the final climactic action scene. When it started, I actually was afraid I was going to be bored, because I worried that we'd already gotten the best that it was going to be. Like, we got the real down and dirty fight scene on the bus. Then there was a break-in in his house where he felt way more in control. And it felt like after he'd kind of awakened, his old set of skills on the bus, he was now like locked in, and we got to see him be way more badass about it. And then when we get into the climactic action scene, initially I was like, is this just gonna feel like we've already seen the best is gonna offer and this is just gonna stretch it out? Like, I feel like the sin of a lot of action movies is they make the final action scene technically the biggest in terms of like how many people there are and how long it goes on, but what happens in it isn't substantively different enough from what came before, and you just find yourself bored before the scene's even over. That didn't happen because of one very smart decision that was smarter than this needed to be, which was to throw a few extra combatants in this in the form of Hutch's, minor spoilers. This isn't really a plot-heavy movie, but minor spoilers in the form of Hutch's dad and his adopted brother. So you have 2 other combatants show up who do not fight the way Hutch does. The weapons that they choose and how they handle them, completely different. So it was like, yes, I'm going to see a little bit more of Hutch doing the stuff I'd already seen him do, but now I get to see what Riz is going to do. I get to see what Christopher Lloyd's going to do. And it adds enough newness to that final scene. And it was really wise to have like each of them have a clearly distinct and different combat approach to basically everything, because you have Hutch, who seems to prefer getting in there hand to hand. You have RZA, who starts out with a sniper rifle and is clearly more comfortable along those lines, and then you got Christopher Lloyd with just an endless bottomless well of shotguns. And it's it's a mistake a lot of things can make, is that everybody has the same fighting style, and here they don't, and it helps. This is definitely something that I feel like, this is a sideways compliment, but I definitely found myself going, in slightly less capable hands, I would be bored with this before it's done, but I'm not. Now, that is kind of a soft praise. It's not like so astounding that I'm like, I gotta be sure I watch that again, or I gotta be sure I introduce people to that, like I feel about something like, I don't know, Dread. But why did I pick that comparison? I don't know. It's the one that came to mind. But at the same time, it is definitely worth seeing once if you like hard-hitting action and don't mind, a little bit of not properly examined toxic masculine power fantasy. Like, it is what it is. If you know what you're getting going into it, it's a pretty good version of that. It's kind of like going for for a fast food burger. There are better versions of a fast food burger. You don't have to get, the standard. There are slightly elevated versions of that, and this is that. So yeah, nobody. You've seen it. What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills. Enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. Those all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can come on back. next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lutfula, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Snark Shark, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Twylord, Tracy Scrabbit, Paul Barabajoggle, Magdalena, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. Additionally, to thank some folks from the lower tiers of support: Lee and Andy, Gavin Hinden, and I Am Orcus. We have some new friends. We have Peppercorn and where'd the other one go? Where'd you go? Coriander has gone behind my head. They are very young and they haven't been integrated with the other rats yet, but soon. Okay, yes. Maybe you weren't quite camera ready.